Hello, can you hear me?
Yep.
Yep, a little quiet.
See me? Okay. I am just adjusting a couple of things. The power went out and came back, so it shut down all my machines now, but I think we are back in business. So I'm making sure that the second camera is open and that you can hear me all okay. I think you should be able to hear me okay. I'm just reading those things right now. Audio levels and making sure that you can see me, hear me, and see my desktop. Here we go with the desktop part. And adjusting the screen sharing and bringing the browser, bringing the virtual machine, all these things, they were running and now they don't. Where is my VirtualBox? And the browser and the website. Okay, I think we are ready. So you will notice a couple of changes that I have made in the website that kind of sort of throws you off a little bit from a usage perspective. If you attempt to log in like this, it might ask you for a verification code. That second factor verification I introduced in the system, which you probably know what I'm talking about, second factor, right? Very challenging. The user attempting to log in to make sure that they are actually the person that they are claiming to be. So second factor authentication. We just introduced that in this site, which basically comes like for example, if I log in right now, it will ask me for the password, which I will provide. And then it will ask me for a second factor after that, like this authentication code. And you will see that I'm able to generate the code myself using this one-time password method. So copy and paste, and then it will let me in. That method you can enable for yourself if you want. Don't have to, but if you want, you can do it yourself. If you're using a simple password that is not meeting the complexity requirement of this site, it will force you to generate a token that will be emailed to you in your email box automatically. You should see that a new email pops up here that basically gives you the code number that you need to go and type or paste into the window. And that's a change that we have done into the website to add capabilities for security, those aspects of security that we changed. In addition to that, we have changed drastically, actually, dramatically, certain changes we have made, which I would like to describe to you. And they look something like, I'll go and draw it, basically. So what I'm going to do is illustrate the point I'm trying to communicate on a piece of paper. Is on the CloudGenius website, what we have done is extensive caching. And this, I've been talking about caching at multiple levels, right? All the way from a user's point of view. If you remember, caching is actually pretty darn amazing if you do it right. If you have to clear cache occasionally as you transition to using caching, but the things that from a user's perspective and at this other end is this back end of the computer, back end of the machine that you have, that machine running your site that you might have somewhere in some cloud, and that will render the experience to this user's browser. The user will look at this browser, and the browser itself will cache. There is a cache here in the browser cache. And then in their proximity, there is something like a CloudFront or CDN cache that you may have understood from a previous example. This is your CDN cache, which is local to your geographical area. And then this is going to be in multiple locations, and then we have the static assets. This assets that are static in nature are copied over to some bucket in some storage, and then this CloudFront thing is going to pull the static components directly from the bucket. And certain cases that are not so static, they're dynamic content. That content is generated right on this computer itself. And that can be slow because this is the language that we use, and it is, just any language can be slow or fast depending on its implementation. So one of the changes I did was to migrate away from this over to the latest version of PHP, which has practically doubled the speed at which dynamic pages are generated, doubled the speed of dynamic content generation. So dynamic content basically is something like this content. Like you see blue links, they're not visible from outside unless you log in. That's dynamically generated content. And that is one change I made here. The other changes that are helpful is additional caching right in this box. And that is to store everything that I can in the RAM without even having a need to go to the SSD. So all the dynamic content is basically this language that you have, this version that you have will go to read the disk, and then from the disk will generate this dynamic content and then render it to the user through CloudFront, and then goes to the view that you see here. However, what I have done is I have substituted this SSD and instead used RAM as my storage. And that can be possible using an open source project called Redis. That is what I introduced right in this box, which allows me to not having to go to the SSD every single time, except for the first time when the machine starts up and you want to read something, you want to go to the hard disk. But any subsequent accesses are stored purely in the RAM, and anything that you want to preserve, you want to push it back down to the disk, that will happen in the background. But these users that see the content dynamic, most of them are served fresh directly from the RAM without having to worry about going to the disk. And that is also a dramatic performance improvement. So performance improvements, you probably noticed. Some of you have told me that you actually see them, and others may not have noticed, depending on what do you perceive. So that's a quick summary of changes in performance as well as security capabilities of the site, in which we have introduced two-factor authentication, basically, in form of an email verification. Or you can use a token method like I use, if you like, your choice. But this is not forced upon you. If you use a secure password, this is not forced. We are not forcing it on you. So you just have to use a strong password and you should be okay. You don't have to receive an email at all. But if your password is weak, it will force you to go grab a token every single time. To work around that problem, you can actually strengthen your password by making complex password choices and use, then in that case, this two-factor is not required for you as long as you use a strong password. Okay, let's move on. Let's see who is here now, 9 people.
So what product are you using for your token?
Token methods are available through this, for this particular, I'm using WP Better Security. They have a new name for it. It's this product. It generates tokens. So you just have to install this plugin and then enable it for second factor authentication. The implementation looks something like this. This is the piece of software I added. It is also open source. And you can see the implementation in here. It's coming up. And so security settings, and you can enable second factor authentication on the back end to enable and force on administrators. I am forcing it to make sure that you are, and actually administrators are using two-factor authentication. So you can configure the settings and you can have choice of methods. The methods available are use a mobile application like Android, iOS, Authy, or this one that I have here that looks up and shows up your token. It dynamically generates one token. That's one method. The other method is email. So you will automatically receive an email from the system if you attempt to log in. And the third method is backup verification codes that will, basically allow you to print some very long code numbers and keep that. But I'm not forcing it on any of you, except I'm forcing it basically on myself. So this user protection is on privileged users. So only those who have administrator privileges will be forced to use this two-factor authentication. And that is what this piece of software helps me do that. The other thing is strong password enforcement. And that is the idea of if you don't use a strong password, then we will force it on you, basically. Make sure to use a email verification token. That token generates through the backend and goes out an email. You can probably see that if I open another browser and attempt to log in somewhere here. Oh, I'm on the wrong browser.
Nilesh, what is the criteria for the strong password authentication?
Okay, I'll show you that. Give me a second. No, not this. So I'm trying to get my browser in place. So the Firefox browser is this one. So now I can demonstrate the idea behind the criteria of using a strong password. I will attempt to log in and a different email address. I'm just logging in as myself, but some other email. So say if I try to log in here and log in as somebody other than me. So here we go. I have this other login I'm going to attempt to log in and it will say, check your credentials. Basically, it's a bad password. So I will have to choose the forgot my password method. And then here I will go and sign in. And then in that browser, I will have to actually access that email. So I am going to sign in and that's where I will receive my verification token. So here, login confirmation code. That token I have received. And that is basically, I'm going to do a password reset for you. So here it will tell us how to enforce the password complexity requirements. So I have set a new password for myself, a request for new password. That request will appear momentarily. And so here is that request coming in. And so password reset. And here I try to reset my password and see what happens now. You will see the answer to your question. If I choose the password like 123 and repeat the password 123, it will force me. If I try to save it, it will say, I think I relaxed that apparently. So password policies can be chosen according to what you like. I think I have made the password policy really, really lax, and it should log in, but force me to type this verification code, which can be made available only in your email. So here I'm expecting to receive another confirmation code. Like in my inbox, I just received this new confirmation code right now. It's 7:13 p.m. This one. And if I take that code, put it back in, it will let me in. I will delete all other emails I have accumulated here. So go away. They are gone. And now I am logged in. This is a dummy test account I use. And now I'm connected and I can actually basically see the site just like you do. So the idea here is to set another token that you send out in email that you receive in your inbox that you want to verify. That's one way to provide protection. Another way to provide is to increase complexity. So password complexity policy. You can decide your own policy by the for your sites. And just don't be unreasonable. Like, you get to choose. But password complexity, you can decide what is reasonable, what is not. It's really up to your business. Some companies go really strange. And here is an example policy. Example policy for Microsoft Server, Windows Server is this. So uppercase characters, lowercase characters, some base numeral, and some alphanumeric character required. And it must contain these from 5 categories. That's the policy Microsoft suggests that we use. But it's a recommendation that Microsoft likes to have. And so it is up to you if your company decides to do something different. Right? Okay, now back to this browser. And what we were doing the last time is this idea of using Chef. And let me recap quickly. We attempted this exercise and then we had a homework assignment for you. The assignment was this one. which is to set up a node which has MySQL database server ready for use that you want to use for yourself. And that was the exercise. And I think none of you have done it, which tells me that I should slow down, honestly. And so I will slow down a little bit, not too slow, but just a little bit, to make sure that you understand the ideas here. The ideas are something like this. You get some machine, some cloud somewhere, and you want to configure that thing. You begin with just enough operating system, bare bones operating system, and then you want to create some new thing. You want to create something new, and you want to maintain that, maintain it like that, maintain that new thing, just like it is. So that is your desire. And you write that desire in a kitchen. You store your kitchen in a folder. The folder contains cookbooks, which contains recipes. It contains references to other things that points to the machines that you want to control and manage. Those are the nodes. You can have multiple nodes here. They all point to these boxes, multiple boxes. They will know where to go and address and where to go and run chef. That's the idea behind these two key things. You have cookbooks and you have nodes to target them against. And then the third thing you have is your workstation. That is where you work on. This is your Cloud Genius workstation in our example. You will run knife tool here on the workstation. This knife tool will take your kitchen, this kitchen, which shows your desire, and implement your desire in the cloud. That's the core idea. Now, what we did the last time, we built a kitchen. We used a command which said a knife solo init dot, that built a kitchen for us. A kitchen was basically empty folders, practically. And then we said, you know what? In that empty folder called cookbooks, I would like to get a cookbook in here. So I want to get the Nginx cookbook. So I used a method of getting these cookbooks in the right spot. And so I used this tool called Burkshelf. This Burkshelf is actually a play on the word bookshelf. And they did not choose the name bookshelf because of simple reason that even if you try to go search Google on bookshelf, you will never, ever actually see the software called bookshelf or Burkshelf. You will never find it. You will always see these things. That's what you will see. So a slight change in word, Burkshelf, like this. And you will immediately on the very first link find the right link, the right product, which is this product, Burkshelf. And that's the reason why they chose the name a little bit differently, which is, I think, pretty fancy. It still sounds like bookshelf. And this tool we use to go to the supermarket, which is a website where cookbooks are stored and the community stores it. And you ask Burkshelf to go grab that book for you and place it in the right spot. We also created a node. And the node was created in some cloud. We used this Cloud DO. And we created one machine there. And in that machine, we got an IP address. We went to configure a DNS for it. This DNS name was pointing to this IP address, and the name we chose was web1.cloudgenie.us. The name that we chose was that name. And so using that name, we created a node file, node.json file. And that name, this name was the file name we used in the nodes folder. We placed it there. Then we also experimented with a thing called, by the way, this will have a run list. And that run list will define what do you want to do when you run chef on the target here. What do you want to do? So we said, I want to run this. That's my desire. And so I specify my desire in the run list. And then in that run list, we said Nginx, and it did Nginx for us. And then we changed our desire to say, you know what, instead of running Nginx directly, we said use a role. And in that role, we had Nginx. Or rather, we called the role as web role. And inside the role, we had a reference to Nginx. And then we said, you know what, our desire is for you to take on this role called web role. And so we did that. and that's how we worked with the box. And then we expanded and discussed data bags. And that's what we did the other day. And then we left with an exercise that is this exercise, which is slightly different than Nginx. Are we recording? Yes, we are. So in that exercise that I want to be able to do with you, since none of you have done it, is to do this idea. First of all, begin with explaining to you what this actually, the idea is. The idea is some cloud, some machine, we'll get one machine, and create a database server out of it. We'll begin with just enough operating system and define our desire in a kitchen. In that kitchen is what we will use to implement our desire. Basically, have a bunch of folders. One of them is called cookbooks folder. And in there, we will have recipes. And of course, we need to have a database recipe, database cookbook called MySQL, because that's the database I want to create here, MySQL database. And so for that database to be running on that box, I need to use a MySQL cookbook. And that means my Burke shelf, we need to tell Burke shelf, please get me this cookbook from the supermarket. So we will get that supermarket. The Burke shelf tool will go here and grab that book and place it right in our cookbooks folder. That's exactly what we want to do, so that we at least have the book in our hands. Then we create a node. In that node, we will make a reference to the machine that we want to make this into a database server. So we'll point it to the IP address of this box, but not just use IP address. We also create DNS records. And in here, we will give it a name, some name like web2.cloudgenie.us as the example that I have here in the cheat sheet, which describes the solution. I have done exactly that, basically suggesting that you use the MySQL cookbook and then prepare a node, get the IP address, and name it web2. That's the name I have chosen here. And so that's the name we have to go and create. Maps to the IP address. Put that entry in the nodes file, within a JSON file, basically. And in that JSON, we will have to have a run list. And once the kitchen is ready, all we need to do is knife, solo. And then we can prepare that location, which is root at this name. Or after prepare, we can then do cook operation. And this cook operation will then cook this machine and basically create what we want is a database server. And these two actions can be combined in one action. And that action is the bootstrap action. They will basically, in one step, you can do the whole thing. It will prepare and cook together. Prepare means install chef. Cook means run chef. So this is the installation action, and this is the run action. And this bootstrap will do both install plus run, one after the other in that sequence. And that is what will actually accomplish, is that it will install MySQL server here and take the information provided in the node.json file, which has specific instructions about which recipe in which cookbook do you want to run, and then invoke it. So it will then become a database server. And then next step we have is actually the verification steps. How do you know whether you succeeded or not? So we will, we'd like to do these things one at a time, beginning from, the first step. First step is we want to do this exercise in which we want to get a MySQL server ready with a root password that you choose. So the exercise says very specifically, use this operating system, because we are using a slightly older OS to simplify the exercise itself. And so we have this we have this virtual machine running for us here. So I will start it up. And then in there, I will go into that VM and then use that folder we had before. The kitchen is kind of ready. We'll modify the kitchen a little bit, remove Nginx references, and instead use MySQL references. and then do the other interesting thing, which is to make sure that it works the way we want the desire to be implemented. So we'll do that. What I'm doing right now is adjusting my screen to put Chrome browser in one half and this virtual machine on the other half. So I'm waiting for the machine to get ready, and then I will put them side by side like that. And now here we have machine on one half and the browser on the other half. In there, last time we were using with this folder, and in that folder we had a bunch of things, and they looked like these. Right? This is what it looked like. We had a Bookshelf file, bunch of cookbooks that Bookshelf brought for us. We don't need any of these, by the way. We want to get a fresh set of cookbooks called MySQL and the dependencies, so we can get rid of all these cookbooks completely. We have a data bag called passwords, but we are not using that one. Environments we are not using. We are going to use the nodes folder, and we'll create a node file like this, pretty much like this, but web 2. And we are not using a role either. And site cookbooks, we are not there yet. So it's a simple exercise. The idea would be that we start building these things. So I want to take this line, which is our Bookshelf line. We have to tell the Bookshelf guy, hey, you go and grab that book for me, please. And so that's what I'm doing is, first of all, beginning with cleanup. So I will open Atom Editor right now. And in that editor, I will start deleting these cookbooks, which I don't need them right now. So I will go in cookbooks folder. All of you guys can just go bye-bye. I don't need you. So here we go. You say move to trash. And data bags are, kind of empty. I'll kill this. I don't need that. So data bags are gone. Environments are empty. This node we will delete in just a minute. We have this role we don't need, so I can get rid of that role. Basically making cleanup right now. We have the log file is old. I want to delete that. And here we go. We have a gem file log is also old from a previous exercise, so deleting that. And right now we are beginning with basically bare bones. We have this that I want to get rid of, or rather I'll just rename it to web 2. And instead of this run list, we'll use something else like MySQL, for example. And that's what I want to do. So right now, our file has been renamed as wweb2. So I'll delete the web1 reference. And now let us see what we have. We have encrypted data bag secret. We are not doing that exercise. It can also go. So it's a very minimalistic design that I'm trying to implement. We have a site cookbooks folder referencing here. First, before we go to the cookbooks folder, which is, by the way, deleted. So I need to create that folder called cookbooks. And that folder is now empty. We have a nodes folder where we keep nodes. We have a roles folder where we keep our roles. We have an environment folder where we keep environments, and data bag folder where we keep our data bags. But then all of them are actually empty. You can see that it is indeed empty. All of them, except this nodes folder has this one file that I want to actually create. This will point to the DigitalOcean machine that I have here. So DigitalOcean. And we will go to the DO cloud right there and click and log in and token, copy. And then we have the DO cloud getting ready. We'll add a machine there, create a droplet. And remember, the exercise says use 1404. So don't use the newer version. This cookbook is a little old. Let's go see how old it is. So we'll go to our supermarket. And in there, identify the cookbook called MySQL. And you will see that this book is quite old. I mean, the version right now is 8.20. Why am I using that older cookbook? The reason is to simplify the exercise. If you try to use newer cookbooks, they're slightly more complex, more involved. And we'll go further with more complexity, but this is just one of the beginning steps. That's the reason why I have chosen to use a slightly older cookbook, which is, there are, by the way, 139 versions. So if you scroll down to the older version that we want to use, it is the 563 version, which is here. And so that's the version we are using. So the gem file, bugs file should look like this. And so we'll grab that bugs file, put in that bugs file reference in here, and say, instead of cookbook engine X, I would like to use this. And that is the reference that I have here. You will also go to the source code of this cookbook. And in that source code is created here. You will see that the tags available are all these tags that are currently available. If you scroll down all the way to the tags, you will find that 563 was created last in April 2015. So that's the age that it's showing you, the age right there. That was the last time it was changed. And that's the version we are using. So it is slightly older, that you understand. That's the reason why you cannot use 1604, because it did not exist when the book was created. Therefore, we are going to go to the older version 1404, and this will work. Remember that step is that we have to choose 1404, not the latest from here. The default is the latest. You don't want to get to 16, stick to 14. That's how you can get this particular exercise to work, and we are just getting started. Having said this, choose a cheaper droplet. Don't get expensive droplets. Move forward with selecting a region near you and a key that you may have. And then this machine becomes my database server. So my DB server. That's my name I'm going to choose. By the way, this is just the host name. It has absolutely nothing whatsoever with this domain name. That domain name, Web2, is nothing to do with the host name idea. They're completely different things. This is not the DNS domain name. It's just the name of the host. It's like calling, somebody the pet name or something like that, right? It's your favorite name. You can call it my database server, but this is the DNS name I want to use, and I will use that. You can simplify and reduce your own confusion by calling it Web2 if you like, but it's irrelevant. And when you have these things in place, you have chosen 1404, $5 droplet, San Francisco for my proximity, and my public key, and then the name I want to have in DNS is this. So I create, and then I wait for the IP address. In the meanwhile, I go to Cloudflare, my DNS provider, and actually create an entry. So what I'm doing right now is this DNS entry for this IP address that I will receive from DigitalOcean. Put that entry in DNS for this name. So here, this is Cloudflare, login, and go to the site, look for DNS, identify Web2. From a previous exercise, I have chosen this. I'll remove that entry, and then go to DigitalOcean and wait for the IP address. And here we have it. Copy it over, bring it here, paste it. Now we have the correct IP address in place. Beautiful. DNS is taken care of. We close back to here. Now we are ready to do the exercise. We want to get this book. So we told our Burke shelf, I want to get this book, please. And then we have to run Burke shelf. So we'll now go and quickly run the tree. You will see that the new tree is quite simple compared to the previous tree. See, my Burks file is there, right there. My log file I deleted. My cookbooks I completely deleted, and I have an empty folder right now. My data bags are deleted, empty folder. Environments, empty folder. Gem file is this file, which I kept. Gem file lock, I don't need it. I will create it again, fresh. Nodes, this was Web2, I have Web2. Sorry, this was Web1, I have Web2 now. And roles, I get rid of this web.json and I have nothing. Site cookbooks was empty, is still empty. So now, beginning with bundle, a bundle install, because I deleted my gemfile.lock. So I need to go make sure that these gems are in place. This gem file should provide a list of all the gems I need, and I have them here listed. So I can close the gem file, Burks file in the terminal, and say bundle. It will very quickly update the bundle with all the gems we need that are listed in the gem file. And now we have them. So now we will see that this gemfile.lock is created as a consequence of bundle run. You can close this window. And as a good practice, I suggest that you please keep those windows that you open here in Notepad or this Atom editor, keep them closed. You will accidentally make some changes as you type by fat finger. You will accidentally make some changes somewhere along the way without noticing, and then you will run into problems. So the good idea is to just press Ctrl W and close that window. Don't keep it open. If you keep it open, it is likely to get modified by accident. And I'm telling you through experience. So gem file has been updated with a bundle update instruction, which was basically bundle install instruction. Now we have that in place. Next, we want to tell this Burks shelf to go grab that book. We can use the update command if we did not delete the Burks file.lock. But since we have deleted the Burks file.lock file, I need to run Burks install instead of update. So I will run bundle exec Burks install. And this will specifically go to that supermarket. You will see that it is giving you lots of warnings. You can ignore them. Warnings are okay. They're not given to you. They're given to the provider of the gem that created it. They will update it. So the idea here was to go to that supermarket and grab the MySQL cookbook. And that is exactly what happened. If you go to the cookbook 563, which we want, it has a dependent cookbook. And that dependent cookbook is Yum MySQL community that also is brought down together with this cookbook. So 2 cookbooks now we have, and Burks Shelf has brought them down for you. And that's what you ran here. Next, you want to create a reference to the node itself, like here, web2.json. And that's the machine I want to actually configure and make sure that it implements my desire. And I have to write that desire down in a file that is this. And this file is your web2.json, which should reflect your desire. Right now, the run list it shows is empty. We want to have run list as this specific idea. And this idea says, you go to the MySQL cookbook and then run the server recipe, not the default recipe, the server recipe. There's a specific way of writing these things. And that method is what I'm going to describe just a minute. So here is my terminal. You will see that I will, no, I should open Atom. Okay, here we go. So Atom I'm opening up. And in there, I will describe the idea is to how do you specify something, especially in a run list. The idea is to specify some recipe and some cookbook. So this is the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. That's how you write a run list command. So if you write something like recipe and you specify some cookbook and then some recipe, that's how you will write. If you don't write this portion at all, for example, if you write something like this, or rather I should say, if you write something like if you write like line number 8 is equivalent to writing like this. Line number 8 and 10 are the same. They're identical. 8 and 10 are identical. When you say nothing, you're actually meaning to say that I want to run the default recipe. When you say I want to run some recipe, you're telling that I want to run that recipe in this cookbook. When you don't say anything, the default recipe is run. When you say I want to run the server recipe in MySQL cookbook, it will run that recipe. And this is what we have to specifically call out because that cookbook actually contains two references. If you go back to the book and see that the recipes folder contains 3 things: the client RB, the server RB, and a deprecated file. You can ignore the deprecated file. But essentially this book contains 2 recipes: the client recipe, the server recipe. And so therefore, this example calls out that I want to run server recipe because that is what we desire. We desire that our machine should become a server. So we are calling it out. Become a server. Use the MySQL cookbook. Some recipe in some book. Some book with no reference goes to the default. So line number 8 and 10 are same. Having said, back here, our definition of our desire is going to be succinct. In there, we'll say these things. What does that mean? Let's go read. It means that I want to have a run list that invokes the server recipe in MySQL Cookbook. That is my desire. And by the way, before you run the run list, which is before you run through lines number 11 and 13, before you even do that, I would like you to do these things. What are those things? Like here, that's what I want you to do. And what is that? It says, for MySQL, there is a attribute defined in the cookbook here. And specifically, if you go to 563 and the tag that we want to choose, you will see that this attribute defined actually calls out these three things as password values. Lines number. If you're finding strange that I'm randomly referencing to a page on GitHub, it is not actually strange. I'm reading the book, the cookbook for MySQL Server, the source code for that directly. That is what it might sound strange to you, but if it does catch you by surprise, please ask me to slow down. If you don't, I might speed up accidentally, and I don't want to confuse anybody. So if you think that I'm accidentally speeding, you have the brakes. You can apply them. So just ask me to slow down, explain, and I will do that. But if you don't, I have no idea whether I should slow down or not. Accidentally, I might go speed up. And that is, I think, somehow in my instinct. So I'm specifically overriding my instinct to run by asking you to ask me to slow down. I know my instinct is to fly. And that can be bad. Sometimes it is good. Sometimes it's not good. So please ask me to pause and explain if you don't understand some things. And what I'm doing right now is how did I reach this GitHub page? I went to the supermarket, and in that supermarket, I searched for the MySQL Cookbook, and then I clicked the MySQL button there, and from there, I found the source code, go to that site, click, you will go to the GitHub location. That's how you land on the source code for the cookbook. Then I'm using an older version of the book, which is here, 563. So I go to the button here, click, and go to the tags, and look at the tag called 5.6.3. And that is what I go on to click on this tag, 563. And then I am now using or referencing the source that I intend to use in this exercise. Inside there, you will see that I have these attributes. And there's only one file in there. And that file specifies the passwords like this. And so I can go and see my desire. My desire is to actually change those passwords to be these values, 1, 2, 3. And if I don't use that value, if I leave it like blank, or just don't even have this line in the account, then I will not have a password chosen the way I would like it to be. But instead, I will be assigned a password by the cookbook by default, given the fact that line number 5 actually does that. Line 5 here. It says MySQL server root password should be I like random passwords. That's the value has been defined by default in the cookbook here. So if you don't specify a password in your overrides, like this line number 5, it will not do anything but just keep this password, which is I like random passwords. But what if I don't like that random password? I want a different password, 1, 2, 3. Then I would like to use that password, and I need to override that value here with a value that I choose here. So I select this. If I choose that password, instead of this password, I need to provide that. And that is how I am overriding these attributes, 3 of them. There are 3 passwords in MySQL. One of them is the root password. The other one is the Debian password. And the third one is replication password. So you can choose to assign 3 different passwords if you like, or just use one like this and not have the other 2, because the only one that is going to be useful is the first one. This is the one that is actually operative. The other 2, we are not actually using them right now in the example. So this segment in your desire basically overrides, doesn't delete, it overrides this value with whatever you chose, like 1, 2, 3, and 4, 5, 6, and 7, 8, 9. They will be overridden. The cookbook default values will be overridden by what you just chose. And you can choose and specify your desire like this by providing an override attribute right in the node description itself. You can put these override attributes anywhere you like, a variety of places. You can even modify the book itself right in the cookbooks folder. But I suggest you don't do that here. Instead, you do here, the site cookbooks. You can provide your override cookbooks right in that location, or specify an override attribute in the roles folder, or in the environment that you want to choose if you go that direction. But in our example, we are really keeping it simple and specifying it directly in the node description, like this, like here. That's what we are doing, is overriding these values. Having said that, once we override, then we need to run the run list, which says the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. Going back to the browser, you can see that the MySQL cookbook has 2 recipes, client and server. I want to run the server recipe, not the client recipe. And it is the MySQL client that also you will find and you will use it. But right now, we want to make this box a server box, the MySQL server box. So we are using that specific desire. We're calling it out, saving it, closing it, and now going back to the exercise. Here, we want to get a new node. We have that node ready already. And again, remember, we are not using 1604. This cookbook does not support 1604. So don't use that one. And then run. What do we want to run? The knife command. What does knife command do? It remotely executes chef on the target here. So I want to have that box converted into a database server. I have specified my desire in my kitchen. And all I need to do now is sit on my workstation and say, knife, solo, bootstrap. And when I bootstrap, it will do 2 things. First is prepare, and then cook. And what does it cook? It installs, it runs chef right here. And what does prepare do? It installs chef right here. How do you know where to go and install? How do you know where to go and run? You have to specify these things like that. Root at web2.cloudgenie.us, like that. You have to call it out by name, and then the appropriate JSON file will be picked up. This JSON file is what we just wrote in here. We wrote that down. Our desire is written down. So we'll implement that desire that you specify in that JSON file corresponding to the domain name. You will also have a method that you have used in the last example where you had created what is, I think this you may not remember, but I will describe that. What you did was that you ran this command. If you remember it right, I don't know if you remember it, but you did. And at least I said that you should, to cut down the way you don't have to remember to type your private key. You want to run this command and then SSH add, and then path to your private key. And if you do that, then you don't have to repeatedly specify your private key over and over and over again. You can just run something like bundle exec knife That's it. And when you run it like this, it will do it in 2 parts. You can do it in 2 parts, pretty much like prepare followed by cook. So lines number 10 and 12 equals line number 8. So when you run 8, you don't have to do 10 and 12. You can just go do 8. Or you can do 10 followed by 12. Your choice. So we'll run this right now. Bundle exec, knife, solo, bootstrap, and then a reference to the machine. The machine reference is how it will know what JSON to pick. This is the reference. So it will automatically look at the appropriately named JSON file in the node's description, which is actually right there, the node description. It will automatically pick up the JSON and understand what is your desire, and then implement your desire pretty much like this. And if you go and run, it will connect to the DigitalOcean droplet and install Chef and run Chef. And when you run Chef, it will automatically look up your desire. The first desire you have is to override. By the way, let me run it. The first desire you have is to override the E attributes provided to you by default, and you want to change those default attributes in this location, default RB, those things you want to change. And then once those are overridden, all you need to do is to invoke the server recipe in the MySQL cookbook. And then you're practically done. Your exercise implements automatically at that time. And the only thing that remains is to go and validate whether it is indeed actually acting like a database server or not. You can do that validation as soon as this run finishes. It takes 2 minutes. So back here, this machine is actually running Chef right now. You can see that it is, installing the, it is installing MySQL Server right now. Somewhere along the way, you will also find that as soon as this install action finishes, it will run the configure action, which is to install your password that you chose, which is 123, by the way. And that root password, oh, that was right there. I saw it. I saw it there, up there somewhere. And so let me bring it up. Where is the password selection method? Yeah, here. So it says root password, select 1, 2, 3. 3 is on the other end here. And this is 3, and that is 1, 2. That's the password you chose. Select 1, 2, 3 root password as 1, 2, 3. You can see that in the log, you can see that it actually selected the password just like you wanted it to. And installed the MySQL server, and all that is done complete. And at the end, you have Chef client finished, completed in 26 seconds. And now we should be able to see whether the box here, this one, is actually a database server or not. You can very, very easily find that out. How do you do that? You just connect to the box and test. The test method is described here in our write-up. Somewhere here, you should be able to find it. So go to the next unit, and you should be able to find the testing procedures, verify that it actually worked as expected, and we'll do that verification right now. First thing, we want to connect to the box. So SSH and root at web2 dot. And then we connect. The box is now there. In there, we should check whether MySQL server is installed and running. We can do that very easily, like it says. So what's the way? MySQL d -- version. Is MySQL server installed? Yes. Okay. Is it running? Is it running? ps-ef grep MySQL. Is it running? Yes, it is running right there. 4731. That's process ID. It is running the MySQL server daemon. And so it is running. And that is good. What else you want to check? You want to check whether a MySQL client can actually connect to the database server using the password that you provide, that you have chosen in your desire. So let's go connect. MySQL, use the root user, and specify the password like this. Excuse me. Specify the password -p option and press enter, and then manually type the password that you have chosen in your desire. In our desire, we had chosen the password 123. So I will manually type 123 and then enter. And we are now connected to the MySQL Server database right there. And so I know many of you in this group are DB admins and super duper experts in databases. You know what I'm doing already because you use this. And I know many of you are Oracle experts apparently. And so this is not Oracle. This is MySQL. MySQL is purchased by Oracle. So it is actually an open source product, but they have bought it, the trademarks and other rights to it. So that's why it is also an Oracle product, but actually it's open source. And here you can do things like show databases and all the regular queries that you want to run. I don't know how to run databases apparently, but let's see. I think I need to have something like this maybe. No. Sorry, I'm not a DB person. So tell me, how do you operate a database? Is it databases? I think it's databases probably. No. Show users. No. Semicolon. Help me out if you know how to operate a database, or I'll find out a way to tell you how to do it next time. I don't remember off the top how to operate databases, but I think something like
it's probably not describe or something.
Yeah, I can hold on. Let me do a quick search and I'll find out how show databases. There should be a way to do that very quickly. In the documentation will provide that. I think it is not relevant, honestly. We will get to this. We are not programming databases in the exercise here. The idea that we had is to be able to create a server that runs, which chooses your password, your infrastructure is ready, and you can hand it off to your developer for them to use the database. So the idea would be to have this machine created into a DB server, and you chose the root password, and the password that you have chosen is this 123. And that's the password. Now works. You saw it connecting properly. So we'll leave it at that because that's the way the desire was implemented. Did the desire correctly implement? Yes. How do you use database server? That's a separate topic. And we'll get to that if you need to, but not this exercise. Having said this, let us take a break before we jump on to the next exercise, which is going to be using a Chef server. So we'll take a short break right now. And in the meanwhile, go to this location and create an account. It is free, by the way. So you should be able to create an account. And as you get started, click here to get started. If you don't have an account, you should be able to create an account very simply. The site is called manage.chef.io. And that's where it'll ask you another question. What is the name of your organization? So you select some random name you like. Like you can choose, probably Boeing is taken. So you can not choose Boeing, but some other name, like I have these other names. You can have multiple organizations. So you'll follow through the sequence. It should be a quick one, like takes 2 minutes. It is free. It is the Chef server provided to public for free with some limitations by the company Chef. And we'll use that server ready-made to begin with. And then we'll use our own Chef server later on. And so do that during the break, and we'll proceed with this step forward as we go along. So that is our plan. I will open a timer and off we go. Hey guys, I think most of you are not back yet. Maybe you are, but you're not showing that you're back. I guess that's the reason. I see only 2, 3 people, 4 people.
I'm back.
Okay. So I think we should start, or rather resume. Up until now, we have used the solo mode of operation in Chef. And just to recap, there are 2 ways: the solo way and the client plus server way of using Chef. And whenever I say the word client, I actually mean to say Chef client. And when I say server, I mean to say Chef server. And when I say solo, I should say Chef solo. Those are the things that there are 2 ways to operate. And if you go this way, you have to provide the kitchen in a folder yourself and then send it over to the target nodes that you have. And these nodes, you can have hundreds and thousands of them. They will apply and run your kitchen and maintain and create and maintain your desire. That will happen. The difference between this mode, solo mode, versus this mode, client server mode of operation, is very, very subtle, very small. In that, the conceptual difference is small. There are lots of other things, by the way. So the concept is that you have this Chef client run, it will run on the target nodes that you have. Multiple machines you will have in multiple clouds, hundreds and thousands of them. Each one of them will run Chef client. Here, run. And when it runs, it will need a kitchen. And that kitchen, you don't have to be there to provide. So typically you can go on vacation or do something else. Whereas in this example, you're right there running your knife command. You're running your knife command, which is you're running this knife tool, which will then remotely execute Chef here on the nodes, many of them. And that you need to be there, at least you need to be figuratively there with your kitchen, and you have to provide your kitchen in form of a folder. That is where the desire comes from. You can enable a scenario where you can actually put this folder in a remote location, like a bucket, and have the machines pull down your kitchen from another location different from your computer. That way you can enable, and you can implement Chef Solo to run by itself without you being in there. That is possible. You can implement it like that. However, in most companies, people use this model, the Chef client, Chef server model. And so that's what we want to do next. By the way, that is also the way Chef company makes money. And they have a product called Chef server, which they provide in form of a service. And that service is called Chef Manage. And this is what you're looking at on the website that I briefly mentioned, is manage.chef.io. That site basically runs Chef server as a service, and they make money from here. They provide a service to everybody for free, but it comes with an asterisk, with a limit. The limit is you cannot manage more than 5 nodes. If you go beyond 5 nodes, you will probably get a phone call from somebody like a salesperson from the company and suggest that you purchase a license. If you go beyond this number, they'll not haunt you, by the way. They're good people. You don't expect to give them a credit card, so there's nothing to charge. If you happen to by mistake accidentally go beyond this number, it is not going to hurt. You just tell them that you're doing this as a part of educational exercise through your programs at Cloud Genius. They'll just go away. The salespeople will disappear. They'll not come haunting and not go after you, asking you to buy stuff. So that just make sure that you tell them, if they call you, tell them that you're learning, they'll go away. So this is the limitation. If you go beyond 5, it is not free anymore. But for our purposes, 5 is a good number for at least for learning to start with. And then eventually we will do another exercise in which we will run, get rid of all these guys. We don't need them because we run our own Chef server. We will do that. There is an exercise for that. And so our idea behind this upcoming exercise is to actually not worry too much about setting up our own Chef server, but instead use manage.chef.io as our Chef server, ready to use, ready-made. We just use it. And the scenario of usage is slightly different. You are here with your workstation, and you will create your kitchen just like you did, because that's where you define your desire and your design or whatever you want. And you have to send this kitchen one time here. And you can basically upload your cookbooks, go there, and nodes go there, and nodes actually don't exist. Roles go there, data bags will go there. All these things that are ingredients to the kitchen, you will have to upload to the Chef server, in our example, this website. That's the first step. That is how you specify your desire. And then you have some cloud and some other cloud and multiple clouds. You might have more than one. Multiple clouds, and in those clouds you have machines and machines and machines. These things are called nodes, by the way. And so these nodes will run the Chef client software. They will run Chef client automatically on each of these nodes every so often. That's the typical implementation. What does that mean? It means something like this. You may have seen this thing, which I'm going to describe to you. It is called cron tab. And this is something that runs every so often. You will see that I am running something. I'm creating a file, touch some file. It's the cron test file. It just tells me whether the file exists or not. So I can go and delete that file first. And you will see that this file automatically gets created every minute. If I see that file exists, this file exists right now. And I am going to delete it. So it's gone. And you will see that in 1 minute or so, it will automatically create. There it goes. It came back. There was no such file, no such file, no such file. And then it appeared. How did it appear? It is because this command runs every minute. It creates that file. And that is happening through use of a software called cron. My cron tab, which is a file containing the list of commands I want to run every so often, I'm running this command to create that file or touch that file, to be specific, every minute. This is just a demonstration example. It does nothing except just create the file here. And I can basically get rid of the file and then look for it again. It's not there, not there. But in 1 minute, you will find that it will appear. 1 minute has to pass. When it does pass, this command will run every minute, and as a consequence, you will see the file. It was created at 1719, whereas the files before were created at 1718. So every minute it is running that command, this command, every minute. This is a representation of every minute. Let's go see what that representation means. So here I say, it means at every minute. So you can play with this site, by the way, crontab.guru, and modify the values here. It will tell you how to write something to run every so often, by the way. Here is 1 minute example. Here is at every minute, at 1 minute past the hour, every hour, at minute 1. And so here will be something like, you can put 5. So it will be at minute 5. So the next one will be at 2/19/1805. You can go specify the hour of the day. So at say 2 p.m. or 2 a.m. or something like that. So next one is going to be at 2:05. And you can tweak these numbers. And these values basically go in that cron tab right there, here. And so if you want to run something every 30 minutes, you will write something like at every 30th minute. And so at every 30th minute, you want to run what? I will say, Atom, I want to run at every 30 minutes. I want to run something like this. So if I put this entry in my cron tab, I will see that my machines out there in the cloud are all running Chef Client every 30 minutes. That's what you will do in a example implementation. All the machines you will have in multiple clouds, these boxes, all of them will automatically run Chef Client, sudo, super user, every 30 minutes. That's one way to think about how Chef will maintain and run itself. So this is what we will kind of sort of simulate by hand by invoking Chef to run mechanically. We'll do it by hand because we are learning. But in real life, you can implement something like this in a cron tab, and it will take care of itself. Having said that, back to our example, what we are really doing is providing our desire in form of a kitchen upload from our workstation one time. Send it up here. So the kitchen will be kept in this location. And then when Chef Client runs on your target devices in multiple clouds, multiple machines, multiple nodes, that the Chef Client will know where is your Chef server. It needs to know. And it will automatically get the kitchen from here, as opposed to receiving it directly from you. That's the difference. Not this way. We are not doing, this is the solo way, by the way. This mode of sending kitchen is the solo method. We are not doing it that way. We are sending instead, or rather asking Chef Client to pick up the kitchen from this manage.chef.io. That's the fundamental operative difference between solo mode of operation and a Chef Client, Chef Server mode of operation. Now, some nomenclature. The idea of using a Chef Server, don't let that confuse you with a server. A Chef Server is a server, but any server is not Chef Server. So servers can be your machines out there in some cloud somewhere. These boxes in some random cloud you will have, those are servers for you, for your usage. Chef will call them nodes. You know that already. This server is your server, whereas this server is the Chef server. Typically, we will begin using the website manage.chef.io as a beginning example for using Chef server. We'll use that. That is going to be our Chef server. It is specific for our infrastructure, for our project, for our department, for our division, for our team to use this Chef server. So all these nodes we will have, which will become servers, by the way. They are, by the way, servers. They're servers for our applications, for our users. They are not Chef server. That's a clarification I want to make sure that you understand. Then your workstation is where you will operate on, and your goal will be to create and build a kitchen, and then you upload the kitchen here. And then you go home or go on vacation. Basically, that's what it boils down to. You create your kitchen, upload, and bye-bye. You're done. Everything else is automated because these guys will, run Chef client. It will know where to go, grab the kitchen, and do the thing. Tomorrow, you come up with a new idea. And you say, I have this new idea. And I want to make a change. And so you come back in your team and you discuss with your team and propose that idea and get that idea accepted into a kitchen. So that becomes a change in the kitchen. So you change something. And then you want to send that change over after it is tested, validated. You upload the change here. And then you go home. You're done. All you need to really do is send your kitchen to the Chef server. And you're done. You don't have to worry about this cloud infrastructure. It will manage itself, as you know, because Chef will run on the target machines, Chef client will run. It will know where your Chef server is. It will pull down the updated kitchen, the new upload that you said with the change, new idea implemented. You can basically send your idea out to the real production cloud. All you need to really worry about is to make sure that your idea is correct and that it reflects correctly in the kitchen changes. And then you send your kitchen up to the Chef server and you go on vacation. Next time you get another idea, you come do the same way. You bring your idea, you vet it through your team, validate, test, make sure you're okay, add it to the kitchen, upload to the kitchen to the Chef server, and you're done. You don't have to worry about managing these boxes. There is a question apparently from Shiv. So go ahead and ask that.
Hey, Nilesh. So I'm just trying to understand the advantage here.
Mm-hmm.
We anyways have to install the Chef clients on the nodes, right?
Yeah.
So, so instead of that, once we install Chef on all the nodes, then all we have to do is then push our new idea from our kitchen into those nodes, right?
Not the nodes. No. Idea goes here to the server.
Correct. No, I'm just trying to say if we go the Chef Solo way, instead of sending it to the manager Chef.io, we'll be sending it to all the nodes where we have Chef running, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what's the big deal? Or
the big deal, actually, it is not a big deal. Both of them are valid ways of usage. So the solo method versus the client plus server method, both are valid. Don't think that this is inferior. Is it inferior? No. Why do I say that? Let us see. This company called Joyent, this VP of the CTO of this guy, his name is, what's his name? I think there is a link somewhere here that you will find that actually describes that Chef Solo is used by Joyent. Somewhere here in this Chef Solo exercise, there is a link reference to a YouTube video where Ben Rockwood, I think his name is Ben Rockwood. Chef Solo YouTube, there we go. It should pull up videos. Yeah, there is a link, by the way. I have found it and kept it somewhere, which basically this Rockwood. And this is the video. So here in minute number 13, okay, come on, advertisement. Move. So go to minute number 13 or so, it will actually tell you how Ben uses Chef Solo right there. And he is, yeah, there it is. So he is describing how he uses Chef Solo in Joyent public cloud. They used to manage, at least in 2012, they used to manage Joyent public cloud using Chef Solo. Joyent is now acquired by Samsung Cloud. Joyent are the creators of your Node.js. So this is the Joyent cloud. Samsung, I think, bought them. Yeah, here we go. So Samsung acquires Joyent. They're a large cloud based on Sun Solaris Smart OS operating system. And you know from this example that he used to use Chef Solo in production to manage a large public cloud as big as Joyent. So it is not that, don't think that this is inferior. No, it is not. It is just two ways of using, this way or that way. Your choice. Both are open source, your choice. How you want to use, you decide. You don't have to go use the Chef server, not at all. You can, because that is also open source. It's your choice. So
then where is the value add which company Chef is providing, Nilesh? I mean, like, how are they making money?
Yeah, they make money by selling their services, because they make money by simplifying the work for you. And we'll see those examples, as you will see once you get to use the Chef server. They provide they by the way build it. And so once the company, like here, the Red Hat, this company has a product called Red Hat OS that is open source, but they made $6 billion of revenue or something like that, like crazy amount of money. How do they make it? Because they're providing support and services. That's where they make money. They're not selling the product. They're basically providing services. They have figured out a model of monetizing open source products. Think about it. What do I do here? Do I create a product? Not really. Maybe occasionally I'll contribute to some open source product. But what I'm really doing is taking open source products and create a training program to help you, all of you. And so I'm making money out of it, by the way. Don't get me wrong. Yes, I make money. This is how I run my company. I have products that uses open source products in form of services that we provide to companies and to people like you. Because you find it interesting to learn directly from a person who knows what they're doing. So you pay money. And that is exactly what these guys are doing. Red Hat is they know how to develop operating systems. And so people pay them money so that they get some support and services. Chef company does the same exact thing. They build it. They build the product. They know how Chef works better than most of us. And so because they built it, right? It's their product. So that's why they are able to actually make money by selling chef.io services. You can read about their website. Okay. Now, we are not venturing in that direction because that's not our focus. But yeah, exactly. That's what they do is they know Chef. They provide you services. So companies buy it. And Boeing company has Chef deployed in your house. I know that. You have a bunch of other things also, but yeah, you're a customer. You can find out who's using Chef by going to their website and figuring out. There are a large number of companies use it. Here are the technology partners and who uses Chef and all that. You can search. So tons and tons of information available, but that's all commercial. So we'll skip that. And this, and this, and stay focused on this, which is, two ways. None of them is inferior. It's just two different ways of using the same thing. Right?
Got it. Okay.
Okay. So now what we need to do is make sure that our kitchen is exactly in line with what we desire. And all we need to do is send our kitchen up to the Chef server. And then everything else will be automated. That's the idea. That's what we want to build. So what we will do is use this manage.chef.io as a service and begin our first Chef server exercise using their help. So if you go here and using this exercise specifically, so you know where this is. It is module number 7. Yeah, module 7. That's where we are beginning from at this point. So we will go to this website, and in that site, you will log in. I should press the control button before I click. So back here. And then I press click to open a new tab, and then I log in and all that good stuff. Now, when you log in, you will notice something that it must have prompted if you create a login. That, by the way, this logging in thing that you're going to do, I recommend using the browser built into the VM. It will make your life a little bit simpler if you use this Firefox browser and go to manage.chef.io right in the browser inside the VM. It is going to be simpler if you go this way. And that's the way I would suggest that you do. And the reason is, this Chef server will give you a bunch of files to download, and it will automatically be in your virtual workstation, as opposed to you have to manually move around stuff, which is possible, but I would rather not bother. I would just download it right here. What we are going to download is what Chef company calls it a starter kit. But, they are just names of the kitchen. Some people call it starter kit. Some people call it chef_repo, starter kit, whatever names you use. Basically, it is the kitchen. That's what you're getting. You will get a folder called chef repo. The people will call it starter kit, and I will call it kitchen. But all of these things are basically the same. You're getting a ready-made starter kit right now. You are getting that downloaded from this website when you log in. So I will log in. And then go to a place which you may have seen already as you logged in first time. But if you have forgotten to download that starter kit, I will tell you how to get that kit again. And I'm waiting for it to log in successfully. And when it does, I'll point out exactly where the download button is, which is kind of hidden. So you have to go to the administration section and then starter kit. Maybe no, you have to select an organization first and then starter kit. So administration, organization name that you have chosen for your company, for your group, for your team. You can make up names. Like there's no need to choose your actual company name. You can just call it whatever you like. Like here, classroom is the name I have chosen. The name I would like to use for this exercise is the team name. The company name is classroom. That's my choice. I chose that. And then starter kit. That button pops up. You have to go through this route: administration, organization, and then comes the starter kit like that. And then you can download the starter kit. And here it will tell you something in a red flag. Red flag is very critical. And basically it has to do with your private keys. They're giving you ready-made private keys, by the way. And so that's what they're telling you, is if you download it, the starter kit, one more time, your previously generated keys will be destroyed. You are okay with that because you're probably doing it first time. And even if you're doing it second time, you're still okay because you can always throw away old keys and use new keys. So these are the keys that we will use. It will contain the keys already, by the way. The kit will contain keys for you, prepared, ready to use, just to make it easy. And so that's what we are going to do. I say, yeah, go ahead, delete all my old keys I have ever used and proceed. So it says, okay, save this. And I save. So I save it. And now I have it in somewhere in my computer. So that's the kit. That kit came down in form of a file that goes to my downloads folder. And it is, by the way, called the starter kit. Now this kit, if I expand, it will rename. So say if I expand here, it will rename to Chef Repo. That's the name. So that's the repository, basically, that I want to use as the kitchen. So various names, same thing. Chef Repo, starter kit, chef starter.zip, kitchen, all are the same things. So that is our kitchen, ready-made, given to us. And I want to move that kitchen from this location, which is the downloads folder, into our home location. That's where I want to go, right? So from downloads, I will drag this item and move it to the home location. Like that, and drop it in. So now in my home, I have this thing called Chef Repo. This Chef Repo. I have it there. I can now close this browser and then go to CD tilde to my home location and then list. And I see that I have this thing called Chef Repo, which came down today. like right now. So this is the expanded folder that I have. And what I will do now is to check it out, see what it contains. And so I see that, oh, hold on, let me go in there first. So cd chef repo, and then look at the, or just open in Atom editor. So that's easiest. Just open it in Atom. This editor is open right now with my cloud. I want to get rid of that. So I'll say remove project folder, and then open Atom editor with this chef repo, the new kitchen. And here it is. You will find that this kitchen contains very minimal things. It has a README file, which you can basically ignore. I will actually delete that. I don't want to read that README, so it's gone. You have a folder called roles, a folder called cookbooks, and a folder called .chef. This .chef is a critical folder. As you know, it contains your private key right there. This is my private key. This private key is different from all the other keys that we have used. In the past, we have used two types of keys. One type was the key that we generate ourselves. It was called the ID RSA and ID_RSA.pub, the public key and the private key. That key was used to connect to machines from your workstation. The second type of key that you have is a key pair, sometimes just a token, to get access to a cloud. And that can take shape of something like AWS access key, AWS secret key, or sometimes it is the token provided to you by the DigitalOcean company. Or so every company will have some key pair that will allow you to access that cloud. The DigitalOcean token is a token to allow you to access. So we have used this. We have used this also. And now we're talking about a third type of private key. This third type allows you to connect to the Chef server. That's what this key that I'm talking about is basically. It allows you to, from your workstation, allows you to connect to the Chef server. And that key is given to you in that kitchen that you downloaded. And that is located right there. Now, if you delete that key or let that other people access that private key, this is a private key, by the way. If you let people access this private key, people can mess up your kitchen. And you don't want that. So the exposure risk here is that if you expose this private key to other people, they can take control of your Chef server and destroy your kitchen or make changes to your kitchen without your permission. And you don't want that. And that is the role of this private key, which is basically managing the Chef server. This private key, this one, is very similar, except you can connect this to any machine that you create, any. So this key and this key is kind of similar, but this is dedicated to just that machine, the Chef server. This you can apply to any machine that you choose. It is your generated key, you create it, you put it wherever you like, and you use it. That's the way this is designed. This is very, very similar, except dedicated to this idea. And these are tokens and secret keys and other access methods. But just want to clarify that these are the three types of keys that we will be using. The one that we are looking at is the third type. Closing it. You will see that there is another important file here called knifeRB. It's very minimal right now. And I want to populate it with lots of details that are relevant to our exercises. So I will do that once we are ready for that. But it contains a reference to your name, your login name in Chef server, and the method of accessing your private key for the chef server. It is also a reference to your organization that you created in chef server. Like my organization name happens to be Classroom. This name I have chosen here in the administration organization section. And that's when I went ahead and downloaded the starter key. I can download it again, but I should not, because it's waste. It's a wastage. So I'm not downloading it again. If I do, it will invalidate my private key, which is this one will get invalidated. And I don't necessarily want to invalidate that key because, why waste time? So I'm not downloading again. I'm focusing on this file and calling out the fact that there is this Classroom reference, which is how chef server will know. And by the way, it is a shared host. So all of you and me and everybody else are using a shared service, which is what this chef company provides. The manage.chef.io is a chef server shared by us, all of us. But we live in separate areas, separate compartments, separate organizations. My organization name is different from yours, and it is unique globally. My name is Classroom. You can be different or will be different. You cannot use this name because I have taken it. And then a path to cookbooks. And then there are a bunch of other things we need to add here below. We will do that. But just referencing this file right now is the important reference, which is under the hidden folder called .chef. And inside there are these two files, knifeRB, which is collection of all the things that are relevant to running chef, and your private key. Those two files. There is a starter cookbook given to us and a starter role given to us. You will see that in the starter cookbook, there is a recipe called default. And all this cookbook does is says, welcome to chef. That's what it says. That's all it does. I mean, literally, a command line, a log entry. Create a log entry that says, welcome to chef. And that's it. It is done doing. It is basically, a primitive starter example to get us started. That's what this exercise will do as we run it. You will see a log entry that says, welcome to chef, comma, something. And what is that something? It is this value followed by exclamation. And what is that value? It is an attribute. This attribute is the attribute called starter name. That attribute is defined in the attributes folder. The default attributes are Sam Doe. That's the default value they have chosen. So if you run this default recipe in the starter cookbook, you will find welcome to chef, comma, Sam Doe in the log. That's what you will notice when you run it. Welcome to chef. And attribute value is Sam Doe. That's what you will see when you run. However, I want to customize. So you can ask the question if you like.
Hey, Nilesh. Last exercise, when we were doing the MySQL exercise out there, the password and we overwrote the password out there on the recipe, I think on the run list out there, or the recipe file.
Correct.
But shouldn't we keep it under git ignore, or shouldn't that be protected?
Yeah, we should protect, and we will protect using an encrypted data bag before we push it to the chef server. We will do that. Okay. But that was just a primitive example to simplify our understanding and running it quickly. That's why I've chosen older methods of using an old cookbook, which is this version 5.6.3, as opposed to latest version, which is a little bit more complex. So I want to simplify the idea, the understanding. So I went and put those things in plain text, did not use encryption, did not do anything else. We'll do that subsequently. But right now, I wanted to keep it simple. So that's why I chose it like that.
Thank
Now,
you.
in this exercise, I don't like the name Sam Doe because that's not my name. So I want to override it. This attribute called starter underscore name can be overridden. And I want to override that name through a role. The role that they have given here is the starter role. The starter role actually takes your name and puts it right there, overrides it. And there is a recipe called starter default, which is what is going to be invoked in the run list. And that, by the way, this is a Ruby representation of a role. The earlier example we had was a JSON representation of a role. This is a Ruby representation of the same thing, same ideas written in Ruby. Again, very, very English-like, very, very easy to read, not too much of coding as such, simple to understand. Run list is the default recipe in the starter cookbook. And override attributes, don't use Sam Doe, use my name. That's the idea here. That's the entirety of this entire kitchen. So you have a role, you have a cookbook, you have a private key, and a knife RB. That's the description of this, what we downloaded. Now let us go and do something useful. What we want to be able to do is run this time in a different cloud. So we'll go to Amazon Cloud. And in there, make sure that you have ports open. Many of you will not have ports open by default. So I want to make sure that you do this specific step because it will actually open up ports. And so I have done it already, but I'm just showing it to you as to where do you do it. The idea is to set proper security settings, and you want to open specific ports in the security group settings for your Amazon Cloud, because we will run this specific exercise in the Amazon Cloud as an example. So here we go to EC2. This is the EC2 segment. And in there, you will find security groups. You will select a particular region that you like. So I'm going to choose, say, Northern California, or which one that we used the last time. Let me go just quickly examine which one is the right one that I want to use. Hold on, I think it's Virginia maybe. I should have a VPC to use there. And so I was looking for the right VPC. This you will not run into this issue. It's just unique to me because I keep deleting this stuff, keep deleting my VPCs. I'm just making sure that I have a real VPC there. And that's what I was trying to find out. I still not find it correctly yet. So I will go and examine it quickly before I choose the right region. You can actually choose any region you like. This issue doesn't apply to you at all. But I need to make sure that my exercises successfully work. And therefore, I want to make sure that I have a VPC, and I have two of them. And one of them is called the Do Not Touch This. And the other one is called Cloud Genius. Okay. So what I want to do is to do exactly what you will see. And you will not see the Cloud Genius VPC probably, but you will see your default VPC. So I'm going to rename this as the default VPC and do exactly what you would see in your scenarios. So in your scenario, you will have a VPC called default. That's the VPC I want you to use. And now select that region of your choice and go to the EC2 segment like that. In there, go to the security group settings. Look at the default security group for your VPC. So for your chosen VPC, you have which is the right one. I guess I have to delete that VPC completely to cut down confusion. So I will go and delete the Cloud Genius VPC right now. This VPC called Cloud Genius should be deleted to cut confusion among you. It has something attached to it. It will take some time to detach. Fine, go and get rid of yourself. So I'm killing that VPC basically to reduce any confusion that you might have, as you will see unnecessary things showing up. So that's what I'm doing right now. And the key operative thing that I want to be able to do is to open port number 22, port number 80, and port number 443. These three ports I want to open in your default security group. That's what I am trying to clarify and communicate, is to go to your region that you choose, and in that region select the default VPC and select the default security group and open these ports. And you will be able to do that through the interface. So select your region, select your default VPC, and in that VPC, you have to go look for default security group. And in the security group for inbound ports, open access to 22, 80, and 443 for traffic coming from anywhere on the internet. So 0000. Open it up like that. It will reduce trouble and let you actually succeed in the very first time. We'll expand and tighten the security group requirements later on. This is too open right now when we understand that. It is too open. But just go like this for now and we will narrow it down later on. It is too wide, too open. Don't leave it like this in production. But having said, for first attempt, keep them open. That's what I will do here. And apparently the Cloud Genius VPC could not be deleted. So I'll ignore that region, go to a different region like this. And so I'm going to Ohio now. Why Ohio? Never used it before. Okay, Oregon. Come on. There are also two VPCs here. Okay, let's stick to Ohio, new one, fresh region, new region. And there is a VPC here that I have. In that VPC, I have security groups. In there, I have this default security group. So I want to make that change in the default security group, inbound rules, edit. And you will see here that might throw off some of you. You will see it already says all the traffic allowed and everything is all open. So why do you want me to do what? What do you want me to do again? You want me to open this, but doesn't it say all traffic already allowed? What are you trying to say? Already it is open. That's how it shows you. All traffic, all protocols, all port ranges. What are you telling me, Nilesh? That's the question many of you have or will have. It shows you, like in your screens, you will see this. All traffic, all protocols, all port ranges allowed.
Is it the source?
Source is broken. I mean, it's not broken. Its source is secured by default. It's not broken. It is secured and limited to only that security group, basically within the VPC. If you're within the VPC, allow all traffic. That's what it tells you. So you want to edit that. And you want to keep this rule as is, but instead add another rule that says open 22 from anywhere on the internet. Open port number HTTP. Where is that? HTTP, anywhere on the internet. And another rule, open port number HTTPS. Where is HTTPS? 443, there. And anywhere on the internet. And then you save. So these are now the 3 additional rules we have added on top of this all traffic rule, which is limiting itself to the source. And this source is the group ID matches the security group itself. So it is self-limiting to itself, which is not what will allow you to connect. And I want you to actually succeed in connecting in the very first attempt. So that's why you're opening it up like this. And the other 2 ports for other traffic. That's what we just did here, is to set up proper security settings. Like you saw, open it up a little bit wider than you need. And then set up a key pair. This key pair you already have. If you're using your key pair, you want to make sure that your key is provided to Amazon. You can grab your own public key like this. And then give this key to Amazon. If you haven't given it, copy it. And if you're in a different region, you should absolutely give it the key. Because what happens is a key given to Ohio doesn't automatically go to California or like that. It doesn't go to London. If you give a key to London, it doesn't automatically go to Ohio. So for every region, you have to go and give them your public key. That's what I will do now. I will go to the Ohio region and in there, identify my EC2 section. and in there is a place to add your key pair. And so I will, instead of creating a key pair, I will just import the one I already have and call it ID_RSA and then paste my public key. Hold on. Let me see. Do it again. EC2, key pair, import ID_RSA and paste and import. When I do that, I have my key fingerprint showing up and the key name showing up. This corresponds to my public key that I have copied from here. And I have given that public key to them. Next, that's the idea behind setting up a key pair. You have to provide your key pair to the cloud. Then you have to get your credentials. This credentials business is pretty important because that's what you need to provide in your knife RB. You have to tell a method like you have to paste your AWS access key and AWS secret key right here. They should go and be pasted in this window. That's what we'll be doing. You will get those keys, access key and secret key from Amazon, and you will paste them right in this window in the knife RB. Now you will ask, why are we doing that? We never did that before. Why are we doing it like this now? The idea that I want to extend the complexity of our exercises a little bit. And what I want to be able to do is, instead of asking knife command to go root at some IP address or some domain name, that expects that you have a machine already ready and started. That is too much to ask of you to go to the DigitalOcean cloud and start a machine, get its IP address, get its DNS name, and do all that stuff. You can cut that down, and for that you can automate those steps of creating a machine, installing Chef. All of that can be automated through knife operations, and we will do that operation in our subsequent in the final step of this exercise. We will do exactly that. We will say knife do something, and it will do that something for you, and go create a machine in the Amazon cloud or some other cloud and come back with the result. You don't have to manually create machines. You can also destroy machines just like that. So these commands, what you're really providing is this key pair, for example, and you're putting this credential inside your knife RB like this. And that is what we will do next. And you will see that you want to go and get your AWS credentials from the Amazon console. That you can do by going to this site, like here to your name, security credentials. You've done it before. And so you can get your access key and secret keys just like that by creating a new access key pair, like click and generate one. That will give you access key and secret key. You want to use that. And that's how you get your credentials from here. Once you get them, you do not share it with anybody else. You know that warning I have given you already before. Do not share those credentials you will receive from here. When you create a new access key, do not share, ever. Okay, having said that, you want to paste those in that location as I will describe. So I'm basically erasing this right now and doing it the proper way. You will also notice one subtle change I want to make is that this reference I have here, which is this reference called cookbooks, it does not reference the folder I want to have, which is called site cookbooks. So I want to make that and actually create a folder called site under site-cookbooks in our folder. We will do that so that it will accommodate that and provide a priority to our cookbook creations over and above the cookbooks provided to us by the community. So we have to have another folder that says site cookbooks, and that folder needs to be referenced in the knife RB in this line number 9. And we can do that by pasting this idea from here. And in that idea, what we have is basically a reference to the site cookbooks folder first before a reference to the cookbooks folder. And that change we have to make in this line needs to go and should be taken over by the line number 11. So I'm deleting that line number 9 and putting this new entry in there like that. Next, what I want to be able to do is provide a method of passing my access key and secret key values in the knife configuration, and there is a specific way of writing it. And so this is how you write. And so you copy these things, put it here, pretty much like this. You will see that I am using Rackspace API and change this and change this. So you can use it with any cloud that has a knife plugin available for Chef. Almost every cloud you can think of has a knife plugin. And here is an Amazon example. Here is a Rackspace example. Here is a DigitalOcean example. And there are more. If you go to GitHub, you will find that people have developed plugins to use with this, say, DigitalOcean Cloud. So there's a knife DigitalOcean plugin available that this guy, Roland Morris, has created. You can go to github.com/chef. And in that organization, if you search for knife, you will find knife plugin for Windows, knife for EC2, knife for Rackspace, knife for OpenStack, knife for ACL, knife for Linode, knife for Google, knife for Azure, goes on and on. Every cloud you can think of, there is knife for KVM and like that. So every cloud you can imagine, there are more, by the way. Every cloud you can imagine, there is a knife plugin available, which is in form of a gem that you can put in a gem file and install it immediately, like say bundle, and it will install it. And so if you want to operate on the Google Cloud, you will go click here and read the documentation, and it tells you how to use Google Project. So you can basically set those details for your Google usage, pretty much like this. And you provide your Google details like that. If you want to use the Google Cloud. If you want to use Rackspace Cloud, you go like this. And you will see that these references actually come straight from GitHub. You go to Rackspace like that and go read the documentation. And here is where I have copied this thing from this location into this example. By the way, we are not using Rackspace because they charge you money, $50 or something up front. So don't waste money. Delete Rackspace. Instead, stick to examples that are, giving you some starter money. So money to play with. So Google does it, Amazon does it, Azure does it. Use those first before switching to Rackspace. And so don't waste money is the key thing to remember. And then you have these variety of ways to save these things. So you want to change this value, where you will actually provide the access key and secret key. And you should choose US West, whatever region you have. For Ohio, I'm going to use Ohio. So I will need to know what that code number is for Ohio region. Is it US East 3? I have no idea. I will find that out. And then put that number here. You will get your DigitalOcean token in this place. And we are not using Google for this example, so you can get rid of all these things out of the way. Just stick to Amazon example and save that file. And there's the request for break. So we'll take a short break, 5 minutes, and then resume. The preparation to this exercise can be a little bit long, but once you have it done, it is not that boring. Initial steps of preparations are, a little bit boring to get this in order. So here, timer, 5 minutes, and off we go. Okay, let's resume. So the thing I was doing was the setup. So there's a question here on chat: is DataBag an alternative to hard coding the AWS keys? No. You still have to put that key right there. Right there. You have to use the keys and put them in the knife configuration. You cannot store your keys, Amazon keys or DigitalOcean tokens or other cloud keys in data bags. That's not the design. That's not how it's designed. So let us now understand how do you put the keys in the right place. So basically we have to structure our knife configuration, this knife RB, pretty much like this example provided here. So what I intend to do is take this example as is, copy it, bring it over here in our current knife configuration and compare line by line as to what do we have. So we have currently something like this, and I'm going to paste the configuration we got from the example and make sure that we are line by line matching. So here, this line, we have it already at line number 3. So 14 can go, gone. Line number 4 matches 14, fine. Line number 5 matches 14, fine. Node name is Nilesh. It is already given in line 6, gone. The key pair, the private key for Chef server is already there. Nice. The Chef server URL is unique to your organization. So my organization is Classroom. And so that organization name is already there. You will see that the newer name they're using here, and my example shows an older name. Both of them are okay. But I will use the newer name that they have provided. So I'll delete this line. So the company's name used to be OpsCode before. It is now chef.io. And so we will delete that line. We'll see that this current directory followed by site cookbooks is given precedence over and above the cookbooks folder that is already there in this line. And so we will use that and make sure that we merge the changes. So like that. We are not using Rackspace, not using DigitalOcean. So we can, strike these guys like that. We are going to use, at least in my example, I'm going to use Ohio. And I did not know what is the region for line number 13 in Ohio. So I did a query and found out that Ohio actually is US East 2. So we'll use that instead of West 2, make it East 2. So we'll go with that Ohio region to play with in that location. We still need to get the access key and secret key. So we'll go do that. I'll save the file as is right now. Go here and then to Amazon. And in Amazon, I will go and identify my key and then show and then copy and paste and then get the public key also same way like this. No, it's not the public key. This is the server, secret access key. So not the public key, the secret access key. This is the one that is the money loser key. If you lose it, this is how you lose money, by sharing this key. If you lose this key and let other people use it, they will exploit your account. You don't want to share this key with other people. So you keep it safe. And at the end of this exercise, I will delete that key, by the way. So I'm going to close it right now. I have the key active. So I will inactivate or delete the key later on after the exercise. This private secret key in here, the access key here. Now we have our knife configuration in good shape. Close the file. Back here, the initial setup steps are a little bit elaborate, I must agree and admit. But we have our knife RB in good shape right now. We will validate whether our knife RB is actually correctly established and is able to connect according to what we want. So we'll do that very, very quickly. In the example that I want to actually show you, what we want to be able to do is the testing and validation. We want to be able to sit on our workstation here. And in our workstation, we should be able to connect to the Chef server and validate that. We should also be able to have a method of connecting to some cloud machines. We'll validate that later. But for right now, I will actually attempt to validate our connection with Chef server. And that is, I think, what we are going to prepare for. So in this example that you have looking at, that you have a roles folder, which is provided to us, cookbook starter provided to us with a default recipe already. We want to use those, but then we want to also specify some specific gems that I want to be able to use. So here are the gems that I will use in my gem file. So what I want to be able to do is create a file called gem file and put these gems in there. And these are the gems I need. So I'll create a file, put the gems listing, save it as gem file. And now I get a file called gem file that has a listing of these specific versions of Chef, and the gem for operating on EC2 cloud, and the gem for operating on DigitalOcean cloud, and the gem for other clouds. You can just add those here in this gem file and save that file. Once you have this gem file ready, what we need to do, as you remember, is bundle. And this bundle operation will go to the Ruby gems location and download these specific gem versions for us, and then we are ready. We are ready to test. So we'll go to the next step, and that is where we will, make sure that we are able to connect to our Chef server after this installation of bundle finishes. So we now have, that seems to have succeeded. Let us go and test and validate whether we can actually connect to the Chef server. We can do this like this: bundle exec knife node list, and it failed. Did I make a typing mistake? Yes, I did. So the typing mistake is I'm using knife twice. Bundle exec knife node list, and it should show me nothing. There are no nodes in your Chef server. We'll say bundle exec, show me all the cookbooks you have in your Chef server, please. So I'll see something. I have a bunch of cookbooks apparently there. This is from a previous exercise. Last time, whenever I ran it, I seem to have a lot of cookbooks in there. You can see them. If you go to the policy and cookbooks, you are actually looking at the cookbooks, all these cookbooks I have, all these. So I want to get rid of all of them. I can delete them. You can also see that I have some data bags from a previous example. So these data bags exist. I want to delete them. And you can establish that it is actually correctly connecting to your Chef server by running this command called knife something list. And that something can be whatever you send to the Chef server. What do you send to the Chef server? You send them cookbooks and roles and data bags and all these things that go to the Chef server. You can list them out very quickly. Knife cookbook list. Show me a list of cookbooks. Knife node list. Show me a list of nodes you have under management, under your control. Right now, there are no nodes in control of Chef server, so it is showing me nothing. Knife cookbook list shows me that I have these cookbooks. And I will say, knife or bundle exec knife role list. See if I have some roles there defined. I think I have 3 of them. So they will come up and list. The 3 roles are there already. I want to delete them. I can delete them pretty much like this: knife role delete. And it will go and delete that base role. Similarly, I want to delete my db_master role. I will delete that role. And so there's a cheat sheet for all these things written down in one piece. It's on the site somewhere. I'll identify where it is. I'll just go here, and you should be able to use that cheat sheet comfortably. And so, yeah, there it is. Unit number 7 is the cheat sheet right here. And this basically is a cheat sheet for all the steps that you may want to use occasionally or quite frequently, depending on how much you use. And this is very short, very succinct, and a subset of the entire documentation that you will find here. This has an extensive documentation, and the Chef company provides that, but this is just a small subset. It's a cheat sheet. So you will find a method to delete all the cookbooks, bulk delete. So here is the bulk delete all the old cookbooks from Chef server. So you can just take that command and delete all the cookbooks that you saw here, for example, like that. So it will go and delete all the books I have. It is deleting it right now. So erasing all the cookbooks I have from a previous attempt, and deleted 1, 2, 3, all the books will be dead. So that's how I know that it is actually connecting to my Chef server. This whatever I described is not written down in this write-up, by the way. It is not. And so the idea is to use the cheat sheet to validate your connection with the Chef server. The Chef server here, you will see that I have managed to delete all my cookbooks, which means if I go to the Chef server again and try to reload my cookbooks and do a refresh, there is this thing that I don't like about the Chef server, is that the browser interface sucks. And you have to actually refresh to update. And then you see that there are no cookbooks to display. Expected, because I killed them all. All of them are dead. Next, I want to show me the list of my cookbooks, and it will give you an empty thing because there are no cookbooks anymore. Show me a list of all the roles that I have, and it will give you nothing because I deleted there is one more role left. So we delete that. Web server, and that role also goes away. So now I'm pretty sure that I am able to successfully connect to my Chef server. That's a good thing. At this point, I think it's a great idea to take a snapshot of your workstation so that you cut down on the amount of work you have to do again. If you do the same exercise again, you know that at this point, my Chef server connection is good. My knife configuration is looking something that actually works. My private key is in good shape. My cookbooks and roles are in the order. My site cookbooks is empty. My gem file is like this, and it is loaded and bundled up and is ready to work. It is actually functioning. And therefore, at this moment, I would suggest you close Atom, close Terminal, and actually take a snapshot of the virtual machine. You can do it in two ways. You can either shut down the machine completely and then take a snapshot, or you can just take a dynamic snapshot of a running machine, which is also fine. You can go to the machine and say, take snapshot. That's it. That's all it takes. So take a snapshot and call it something unique. So you can call it something like Chef is ready. So I'm going to name my snapshot and I'll say, Chef is ready. That's the name of my snapshot. So I know how to go back to this point in time. Anytime in the future, if I make a mistake, I don't have to go to ground zero. I can go at least to this point. I know I can revert. So that's the way to take a snapshot, and you have it now. So you're basically taking a snapshot of the entire machine and kept it safe. That's what's going on in the 9 seconds, 8 seconds, whatever remains. You're done. You have now a complete snapshot up to this point, including your trash. Whatever you have in the trash, that is also kept safe. The whole thing, the whole machine. Yes.
How do you take a snapshot of a machine which is shut down?
A whole machine with shutdown? Okay. Here is how you do it. The same process basically, it's just that the machine is shut down. So if you shut down like this and say go shut down, it will shut itself down. Then you have this item here in the listing. You go to the snapshots, and there I have bunch of different snapshots. The one that I took 44 seconds ago is this one. The current state is different. So I can just click this button, click, and take another snapshot. So this is the shutdown state. Save. So now I have another snapshot, which is a shutdown state. I can go to a ready state, which is the machine is up and running, whereas this is a shutdown state. So if I restore this snapshot, right click and restore, and you'll say, okay. And so now you are on a machine which is shut down. Whereas if you go here and restore this snapshot, chef is ready snapshot, restore, and you say restore, it is a different state. It is not the shutdown state. So if I now start the machine, it will actually start, or rather restore a live machine, not start the machine. So you don't see the boot up sequence. You're looking at a ready machine, ready to run, exactly the point where you left it before you took the chef is ready snapshot. So you saw that this machine did not actually boot. It just restored a live state as opposed to the other one. Let's go see the other one. So I'm going to shut this down, or rather, yeah, go bye-bye. And its machine is shutting down. You will see that when this machine shuts down properly, I will like to take this shutdown state. I want to restore that snapshot. And I don't want to create another snapshot, one more snapshot. I don't want, so I could uncheck that and say restore. And now I have the machine restored. And now that shutdown state has been restored. And now I will start the machine. When I do that, you will see it boots up. The whole boot up sequence starts, as opposed to a restore of a runtime. So this is going to boot up right now. And that is the difference between a shutdown snapshot versus a runtime snapshot. Both are equally good, but they're different. If you want to give a machine image to somebody else, it is a good idea to shut the machine down properly, then take a snapshot, and then give it to somebody else. If you give them a running state, it's not a good idea. So on your own machine, you can absolutely, run the machine and take a running snapshot, no problem. But if you want to give the machine to some other people, I suggest that you properly shut down the machine, take a snapshot, and then machine export. There is a proper way of exporting a VM. So file export, that should do it. So shut down a machine and file export appliance. And here you create an OVA file. That is exactly how I create an OVA. And I give it to you here in that Resilio sync. This Resilio sync, you get the workstation OVA that looks like this OVA. I created exactly like I just showed you. I shut down the machine properly. I configure it, by the way, and then do it exactly the way I want like you to have. And then I take a export appliance like this. I do this through automation. Don't do by hand, mouse clicks. I don't do that by mouse. I have automation to do this. So I will, anytime I feel like I need to give you a new machine, I will run the automation, which will basically go to the Ubuntu source, install all the things I need, shut the machine down, take a snapshot, export appliance, put that in the folder, and then let you, or rather it will automatically push it to your computer also. So it will reach your computer automatically because you have Resilio sync running. So all I need to do is initiate my sequence to build a new workstation, and then I go there, do something like party or do whatever I want. Or it will build the machine, take a snapshot, create an OVA, push it to my folder Resilio sync, which in turn will push it to you. All of you will get a fresh machine whenever I decide to. If I want to update something, make a change, I can do that. But I'll do all of this through automation, and that I'll demonstrate at some point afterward, not right now. Okay, having said the snapshot piece, it is important to take that snapshot for you because you don't want to waste time. We have wasted, I should not call it wasted, but we have spent enough time to actually go through these boring steps like you have done up until now, is to make sure that you have this knife configuration ready, AWS configuration ready, this and ready, and all those things. It's a nuts and bolts, they're in place now. So now we can get to using it. Now that we have our skeleton kitchen ready, we can change the kitchen according to what we want and proceed to the next unit. In that next unit, what I want to be able to do is to make sure that I am able to connect to the Amazon cloud, because I know I have given my key pair to the knife configuration. So I should be able to go to the chef repo folder here. And in that folder, remember, I'm operating inside that folder. And that is very, very important that you know that you need to be in the kitchen you're dealing with. You cannot operate anywhere you feel like. You have to be in this folder for this exercise. And then you say, like bundle, exec, knife, role list, like you saw. So this establishes a connection to the Chef server. And it tells you that you have no roles defined currently. And you saw another example of, cookbook list, no cookbooks defined. Very, very similar to this, that you will see that you can connect to the Amazon cloud and find out how many machines you have running there. Like that. You will go connect to the Amazon cloud and it will tell you that you have nothing running. Like that. You see that? You just connected to the EC2 cloud and said, give the list of servers I have. Server list. Knife EC2 server list. Knife cookbook list. Knife role list. Knife EC2 server list. Knife DigitalOcean droplet list. Knife Azure server list. Knife Google server list. Like that. So basically here, name of the cloud and name of the thing in there, whatever that thing is. So like DigitalOcean will say, our things are called droplets. So you will say bundle exec knife DigitalOcean, and then the machine that they use the word droplet. So droplet list, and then run. When you have a proper token in place, you will see appropriate response that you have some machines running, or these machines running, or nothing running. Or right now my token is broken, so I will get an error like this. So you see the error. Did not provide a token. Fine. So I will give it a token. And so I'll generate a token pretty much like here. Where is that? Here. And go to DO and log in and generate a token. In the API section, I'll go to generate a token and say the chef exercise and generate the token, copy the token like this and bring it here. And then adjusting my windows a little bit, going side by side. And then taking that token from DigitalOcean, go to the knife configuration. And you see that I'm now deviating a little bit from my image that I captured. The image I captured in the machine does not have my DigitalOcean token, right? But I have it in my buffer. So I'll need to grab the way to write that. And in a previous step, you probably have seen there is a reference to DigitalOcean. So we'll take that reference back from here. And that reference is here. That's how you write a token for DigitalOcean in KnifeRB, and that is provided to you in GitHub documentation. So you have to go and grab the token like this and put it in the in place of the change this. So you just paste your token right there and save. Now that you have a DigitalOcean token in your knife configuration, you close the KnifeRB file, go back to here, and then bundle exec, knife, DigitalOcean, droplet list. And off we go. So it will connect to the DigitalOcean cloud and give you the droplets you have. Right now, I have nothing. I just deleted the droplets we created in the previous step. So it is nothing. Right now, no ID, no name, no size, no region, no nothing. Similarly, for EC2 cloud, I have no machines running there. So that's what you see. But it tells you that you are actually able to connect to a cloud just like that and get you the instance ID, the name, the public IP, the private IP, the flavor, the image, the key, the security group, the IAM profile, and the state of that machine. And same with another cloud. And same with just about any cloud you can think of. Same approach. All of them do the same way, as long as they have a gem, which is a knife plugin into Chef, and that you have actually loaded that gem in your gem file, like I have done these two. You can add more and then bundle. And then you go here and add your credentials. And then you can apply the command pretty much like these guys or these guys. And you can operate in a cloud agnostic fashion. Connect to any cloud you like, operate on any cloud you like in your way of doing things. Like this is your way, this is your kitchen, and you can make your desire come true irrespective of the cloud, practically. More or less it's identical. There are certain changes, like they will call them droplets or call them servers or call them whatever they feel like, but they're machines. They will have different characteristics defined here. For example, they don't talk about public IP, private IP, because they don't have such a thing in DigitalOcean. They don't have these things defined. But so from cloud to cloud, you will see some variations. But more or less, the approach to managing and interfacing and running your things in the cloud is kind of sort of this way. It's the agnostic way of operating on a cloud. Having said that, let's proceed to the next step, which is to actually make use of the ability for us to connect to some cloud and get something useful. Like, for example, we have this starter cookbook and a starter role. So I want to be able to invoke that role in this recipe, the default recipe, and see, welcome to Chef Nilesh. That's what I want to see somewhere. And in the log entry, I want to see that welcome to Chef somewhere when I run this cookbook against an Amazon machine, for example. That's what I want to do. So I'm going to that direction right now. I have tested my connection to not only the Chef server, but also the Amazon cloud and the DigitalOcean cloud, both of them. We can add more clouds if you like. But right now, what I want to be able to do is make sure that I send my kitchen to the Chef server. So here we go, sending my kitchen. Upload all my cookbooks. How many cookbooks I have? Only one, but that's okay. Just send it. So here's the command. It's in the cheat sheet, by the way. So it will take all the cookbooks you have and send it over to the Chef server. So I just did that. You can go to the Chef server, open it up in your browser, and you will see that you have the starter cookbook showing up once you log in. So you should log in here. And then you will find that your cookbook that you just uploaded is now available in the name starter right there. And this is the cookbook that you have. The README is empty, as you can verify that this README starter cookbook doesn't have a README file. So README is empty. Next, we want to also list our cookbooks that we just sent. We can do that in the command line, same like we did in the visual graphical user interface. We can see that the knife cookbook list command gives out starter cookbook version 1. Similarly, we want to send our role to the Chef server. So we have one role here, right? You see this role called starter role. That role needs to go to the Chef server. And so I will need to send that role over. You can send this basically pretty much like this, bundle and exec. And this command is not intuitive to me. It is kind of clumsy. So just see how it reads. It doesn't read nice. At least for me, it should be something simpler. And I'll tell you how it should be, but that's not the point. This is how Chef has done it. So we have to follow what they have done. So bundle exec followed by knife, role from file, and then a reference to the role itself. That's how they write. That's how their design is, which I personally don't like, but then that is what we have to use. I would rather have something like knife role upload or knife role, just like knife cookbook upload. I would like to have something like this, but they don't have that method. You have to use this method, knife role from file and then the file. That's how you send a role to the Chef server, and I'm doing that right now. So I've sent my role up there. I will go and validate whether my role was delivered to the chef server by verifying it. Knife role list. Do I have your starter role? Yes, you do. What about here? Do you see that role, starter, available? Yes, you do. You can see that it's there. You can also expand and all that, read the role itself if you like, and attributes, and the starter name attribute is actually my name right there. It shows up in the Chef browser. Next. Next step is to be able to run this collection on a target machine that I want to create using Knife, as opposed to going to here in Amazon and then clicking on the EC2 button and then launching and on all that, like the mechanical process. I want to cut that down and make it automated. So I don't want to go into the browser window and go to EC2 and do all those clicks. Instead, I will follow this method, which is to systematically construct a command which will invoke the Amazon cloud, start a machine, inject Chef, install it, run it, go to connect to my Chef server, and then run the kitchen. That's what I would like to see. One shot, one command, does it all. This is the command. Let's go read. Let's go read what it's going to do. So I'm going to copy that command here and paste it in this window and understand. Lots of things here, little things, but very intuitive. Actually, it's pretty darn similar to what you've done before. The steps are kind of like this. Knife EC2 server create. That's the operative line number 6. The key thing is to create a box. And when you want to create a box, you want to provide it the private key, the public key references, and that's line number 8 and 9. Line number 8 is the reference to the key name used in the Amazon cloud. So you go here and the key pair name, you have chosen this name, ID RSA. That's the name it matches here. If you use a different name here, you need to use that same name here. Then here is the reference to the private key that I want to pass a reference to with a -I option, so it knows to grab that key. The username in Amazon Cloud for an Ubuntu box happens to be Ubuntu, as opposed to the name root in DigitalOcean. So it varies from cloud to cloud a little bit. So these guys, Amazon guys, choose the name Ubuntu for their username. So we'll use that, line number 11. Then in line number 13, I'm skipping this for now, skipping this. Line number 13, we are choosing the size of the box, T2 micro. That size you can select here as you go and start creating in the machine, say launch an instance and select an OS, and you say T2 micro, the cheapo machine that you get for free, that one. You can select that T2 micro right here. And then when you want to run something, you want to provide a run list. So when Chef runs, it will use this run list. That's this R option means. It's a run list option. Now this reference is a reference to the Amazon machine image that you want to use. You will see that this is a machine image for some operating system. Very likely it's Ubuntu, because that's what I have chosen. So you can use this name if you like. However, I would like to tell you a method in which you can systematically find out these numbers, these machine images. These machine images are basically images of the operating system that you want to use. So there is a website called Ubuntu AMI Finder. And you go to that site. This is the site maintained by Ubuntu itself. And if you go to that site, it's the Amazon Amazon EC2 AMI locator. What is AMI? AMI is Amazon machine image. It's the image you want to load on a machine before you start. So that is how you find any identifier that you want to construct a machine out of, like this, line number 12. You will see these references here in the Amazon cloud. If you go here and click, say, launch an instance, you will see that they will give you a reference to a machine image right here, or here, or here. That's how they identify unique machine images. So if you want to get a Ubuntu box, server 1604, you have to use this AMI ID, Amazon Machine Image Identifier. This. You can use this directly in our example here. You can just say, instead of that value, I will use this value, and you can totally do that. But remember that these machine images differ and vary from cloud to cloud, region to region, and it can be confusing. So what number should I use here? That's a good question to ask. And the answer to find that out is actually not in the Amazon site, but here, Ubuntu site. This is a long list of identifiers. There are 356 entries, by the way. And this is just the current values. The older values are also there. They don't show it here. So how do you narrow it down? What you do is you stay focused on the bottom of the screen. Scroll all the way to the bottom and select your region. So right now we are in at least I am in the US East number 2, Ohio. So I will go to Ohio here, US East 2, click, and I narrow down to 4 entries. And you will see that this guy provides me only Yakety Yak image. This Yakety is the name of the operating system 1610. You can either use Yakety Yak if you like, but if you don't like Yakety Yak, you can choose older images like Trusty or Xanial. If you like, it's completely your choice as to which operating system version you want. So if I choose Xanial, which is 1604, apparently they don't have it in the US East 2, which is a crazy thing to find. I just found out that they don't have Xanial images. So we can use Yakety Yak in the Ohio region. If you're in a different region, which is very likely, you're probably not in Ohio, you're probably in US East 1 or in the Oregon region, you will find that they actually provide you with Trusty, like in Trusty images or Xanial images, which are more stable, 1604 long-term supported versions. Yakety Yak is not long-term supported. You will see that this LTS flag pops up, which is an indicator of long-term supported versions of operating systems. Trusty is LTS. Xanial is LTS. Yakety Yak is not. So don't use Yakety Yak for production. For our purposes, it's okay to use. Now in here, in my specific example, I have to use Yakety Yak. Apparently that's the only image you have, which sounds weird to me because you actually have a 1604 example showing you by Amazon's website, shows you that you have it. And this is 1604 LTS. So I want to use this LTS instead of Yakety Yak. So I will use this image number from here instead. And this corresponds to Ohio. So I will use not this, but this, which happens to be the same. Huh. Okay, so I use this number instead of this number. That change I need to make. This is unique to every region. This key name has to be unique to what you type. This key has to be in your path in that location. And it needs to be given to the region you're working with. This image has to match the image that you're using. The size T2 micro, the login name Ubuntu, the command server create in the Amazon cloud. That's what we are dealing with, and prefixing it with bundle exec. And what this thing will do is go to Amazon cloud, create a machine, inject Chef, install Chef, run Chef. And then before it runs Chef, it will go and connect to the Chef server. Download the cookbook that you have specified according to the role you specified here. This role starter role, it will go look at the role, expand the role, and it will say a reference to a cookbook. Let's go see that reference. This role here has a reference to a cookbook called starter. The default recipe in there is going to be invoked. So you will get this cookbook down into the machine. This role will come down to the machine, and then it will run chef using this role, which is defined in your run list. Where is the run list? Right here, line number 14. That's what will happen when you invoke this one command. All of these things you will see happening one after the other as soon as you invoke this multi-line command. A multi-line command is a command that you write in multiple lines as long as you have a trailing slash and nothing after that. If you put a space in there, it will not work. It has to be nothing after the slash. It means it's a trailing slash, as in there's nothing after the slash. If you write it like that, it's okay. If you put a space, not okay. So make sure that you don't have spaces in there after the trailing slashes, which you probably do not have if you copy and paste. But if you do, it will fail. And so copy like this and construct it carefully. Machine image has to be accurate. The key has to be named like this in your region that you choose. The machine image will depend on the region you select. And then run. This one run will do everything. Let's go do it. Back here. Paste. And execute. Now you will see that a new machine gets created in Amazon Cloud. It will be a T2 micro machine using this AMI ID in US East 2, which is Amazon's Ohio region. So let's go see the Ohio region, what's going on there. EC2, Ohio. What do you have? You have one running instance. What is the instance ID? This number, Charlie Brother Apple. This number, CBA. Do you see that here, CBA? Yes, I do. Okay, let's see. US East 2 is understood. The security groups that we are using is default. This default security group, we made sure to open our security groups. Did we open security groups inbound? I think so. I think we did. So SSH traffic is open. If this is not open, you will get stuck right here, SSH access, waiting for SSH to become available. It will get stuck right at that spot if your security groups are not open. It will keep on waiting for SSHD access to become available and eventually fail in 10 minutes. Right now, you see that it has automatically connected to the Amazon's machine that it created. It also installed Chef. It also ran Chef. And when it ran, it looked up our cookbooks from the Chef server. And it found out that the run list says to run starter cookbook. So it synchronizes the cookbook from the Chef server. It brings the starter cookbook down, installs that cookbook gems, whatever is required. It compiles those cookbooks and then runs the recipe called default in the starter cookbook, in which there is an override attribute to override. The attribute to override is starter name. Use Nilesh L as opposed to what is the default attribute? Sam Doe. Don't use that. Use my name. That's what this default override says. So it did that, exactly what you said. And you see a log entry, welcome to Chef, comma, Nilesh L, exclamation. That log entry came because that's what you wanted. And you now have a machine up and running with Chef. And it ran your cookbook that you wanted to run. And it did successfully in one command, all of it, one shot. The command was this. So it simplifies a little bit. We have gone one level more complex than the previous steps where we manually created machines. This time, the knife command itself created a machine for us in some cloud. Create a machine. Use my keys, use this machine image, and run the role. And just do the whole thing for me. Right? That's the thing that I think is the next level of complexity that we will build, and we'll go a lot more complex. So just pace yourself. And one thing I would like to say is, do not miss doing these exercises. If you miss them, it is going to be increasingly complex, and I'm cautioning you. Complexity is coming, and yes, it will be mind-boggling, at least in the next 4 sessions until this DevOps thing finishes. It will be mind-boggling, and then it will calm down. Don't worry, it will calm down. But it is going to be boggle you, totally, you will go nuts doing these things. If you do not understand, please do it at least once. These exercises, you follow along. They're written down in a fashion that will actually execute, and you should not have trouble. But if you do have trouble, I'm here to help you. I want you to run. I want you to try this yourself, even though you're not becoming developers, and I understand that many of you are senior managers. I get it. But please do this. Please do this, because it will help you in really, really understanding what goes under the hood. And so if you do that, it'll help you gain a solid comprehension of what is going under the hood, in making sure that you can actually put these things to use in your business, in your companies, in your organizations. So bottom line, please do the exercises, and I will help you in accomplishing that for you if you get stuck. I'm here all the time. You know that. And many of you are actually using that. That is beautiful. And keep doing that. Make sure that you run. And with that, I will pause recording and discuss something that we wanted to discuss the last time. And that thing is about Monday, 6 o'clock. Where is that recording button? Hold on. Here we go. So I'm stopping the recording right now. Where's the recording button? Oh, there we go.